Lakers, they gotta go.
James, a bump, a feed, a Prince shot, no! Zero's on the clock, the Nuggets advance!
Was this LeBron's last chance as winning a title with the Lakers?
Yes, with the Lakers. Yes, I believe so.
We've got to stop blaming general managers and coaches. Players, what role did you play in this?
That's it. The Timberwolves complete the sweep.
It was a failure in Brooklyn, and now it looks like a failure in Phoenix.
The Suns got no bench. They got no size.
I think this was the most embarrassing sweep of the NBA playoffs.
It's the end of the night and the end of the season for Steph and for Klay.
This is the third time in 5 years they've missed the playoffs.
You know, you don't get to stay on top forever, so.
Klay Thompson, obviously, there is no doubt that he has fallen off to some degree.
But this might be the end of an era for that big three.
At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
By now, you already know that the time of some of the older NBA players are coming to an end, and this specifically goes to 3 players: LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Stephen Curry. Personally, I think the championship-winning days of these players are done, unless they make major moves and are playing with better teams in the near future. The reason why I think they won't win anymore isn't because of their abilities on the court. Even at their age, they've still proven that they're some of the best players in the entire league. The problem clearly isn't these guys. Rather, it's the situation they're in. Allow me to explain. First up is LeBron James. On top of the mileage he's already accumulated in the league, LeBron isn't able to carry a team into a deep postseason run anymore. We can't blame him, he's nearly 40. He does, though, have a superstar teammate who unfortunately is injury prone. This past year, Anthony Davis has proven he's capable of playing long stretches of the regular season. When AD isn't injured, he's almost always the best defender on the floor who could also give you 25 plus points on any given night. And that's about it when it comes down to dependable players for the Lakers. D'Angelo Russell is either the greatest shooter on the floor or the worst shooter in the country.
Russell!
There's no in between with him. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and Taurean Prince all have their moments, but they aren't very reliable, while Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt can't stay healthy. On top of their unreliable roster, the Lakers have recently fired head coach Darvin Ham. Now the franchise is going to be searching for their 5th head coach in the past decade. As happy as some fans might be about this decision, and trust me, I get it, he looks like he isn't doing anything. History isn't on the Lakers' side for this decision. Look back at the previous NBA champions since 2019 and take a look at the head coaches and think about the adversity they went through before winning a championship with the team. Nick Nurse was a Raptors assistant coach for 5 years until becoming the head coach and winning a championship in 2019 with Kawhi Leonard. Frank Vogel, the only exception, won a championship with the Lakers in 2020 in his first year on the job. Mike Budenholzer went on 2 disappointing postseason runs with the Bucks before winning it all in 2021 alongside of Giannis. Steve Kerr helped the Warriors back to the top of the mountain after missing the playoffs in 2 consecutive years with Steph Curry in 2022. And Mike Malone spent 8 years in Denver before hoisting up a championship trophy with Nikola Jokic in 2023. You could also look at some of the losers in those finals and say the same exact thing. With the exception of Ime Udoka, all these coaches faced adversity with their respective teams before getting to the NBA Finals. History shows that this type of chemistry and relationship can only be built with time. Again, new coaches can win it or make it far in their first year on the job, but it's less likely than other coaches who have been around their teams for a longer period of time. And yes, I'm aware the Lakers were just in the conference finals in 2023, but who did they lose to? The Denver Nuggets, who have beaten the team 12 out of 13 times in the past 2 years. If LeBron and the Lakers want to win it all, they'd have to go through Denver more likely than not. Of course, all of this could change if the Lakers were to pull off an amazing offseason acquisition. If they can't, the team's ceiling will probably be in the second round in the playoffs. Up next is Kevin Durant. KD is probably in the worst position out of the 3 players, believe it or not. What the Phoenix Suns have done in the past 2 years is crazy, just for them to get dog-walked by Anthony Edwards in the first round. Like the Lakers, the Suns have fired head coach Frank Vogel after 1 year on the job, so history already isn't on their side. On top of that, the Suns within the past 2 years have given up Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Chris Paul, 4 first-round draft picks, 6 second-round draft picks, and 5 pick swaps to acquire KD and Bradley Beal. Matt Ishbia gave up their entire future and draft assets for 2 30-year-old players on max contracts. With Devin Booker already on a max contract of his own, the Suns are now paying 3 players more than 68% of their entire payroll for the next 2 seasons, barring any changes. The team doesn't have enough money to pay for good role players, and that was clearly evident throughout the regular season, as they were dead last in average bench points scored. The bench especially showed how non-productive they were, as they didn't show up in the last game of the postseason against the Timberwolves. The Suns lost 122 to 116, with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker combining for 82 points, while the rest of the team scored just 34. Bradley Beal, who a couple days before the game said, "We won't be getting swept."
I've never been swept a day in my life, so I can't. I'll be damned if that happens.
Came out and scored 9 points on 4 of 13 shooting before getting fouled out the game. You're probably thinking, why don't they just trade the worst player out of the 3 and free up cap space? Just move Bradley Beal. The only problem is, they can't. When Bradley signed his contract with the Washington Wizards, he had a no-trade clause, which means he can't be traded unless he wants to be traded. The Suns knew this before trading for him, and they went through with the deal anyway. Now he's owed over $160 million for the next 3 years by the Suns, unless he wants to be traded away from the team. To give you a bit of perspective of how much the Suns are paying him, next season he's making more money than both his teammates, Giannis, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and both Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, all who average more than 22 points per game in the regular season. For the 2025 season, the Suns are already projected to be over the second apron in the salary cap, which will further prevent the team from making certain moves in the offseason and trade deadline. The team has no money, none of their own draft picks, and no tradable draft picks until 2031. Unless an absolute miracle happens, Kevin Durant will be stuck with the worst bench production in the entire league for the foreseeable future. The only thing going for him and his championship aspirations is Bradley Beal staying healthy and becoming anything like the scorer he was at Washington. Lastly is Steph Curry. The Golden State Warriors have been over the salary cap into the luxury tax for the past 8 of 11 seasons in the NBA. And since the luxury tax started in 2001, the Warriors have paid over $600 million in tax penalties. That's $200 million more than the Clippers, who have paid the second most in tax penalties. Even though it has amounted to 4 championships, no team has unlimited money, which is why it was big news when the Warriors owner, Joe Lacob, said this.
You know, plan 1 or 1A is actually we'd like to be out of the tax. And we think we have a way to do that. That kind of is the plan, not just under the second apron.
To end off last season, the Warriors were paying 5 guys over $20 million. The only significant contract they're getting off the books next season is Klay Thompson. This is their biggest issue in the offseason. After the team failed to make the postseason, both Curry and head coach Steve Kerr have expressed that they want Klay back.
I could never see myself, not with those 2 guys.
And I know I speak for everybody in the organization. We want him back.
And Klay himself would like to stay with the team that drafted him, but only if he's compensated accordingly. Klay Thompson's last deal was a 5-year, $189 million contract extension, and he's currently eligible for a 4-year, $223 million contract extension. But given his previous 2 seasons of play, that deal is considered unrealistic. In the past offseason, the Warriors reportedly offered Klay Thompson a 2-year extension around $48 million, but he has reportedly declined it, and that deal is no longer on the table. Thompson probably feels like he should get paid for what he's done for the franchise, but his play in the past year has been some of the worst of his career. He averaged his 3rd worst points per game in the season, 3rd worst in field goal percentage in the season, and 2nd worst in 3-point percentage. He came off the bench for the first time since his rookie year in 2012, which by the way, he did not take happily. And in the final game of the season, the most important for the Warriors to stay alive for a playoff spot, Thompson had the worst game of his career. Against the Kings, Klay Thompson had 0 points, shot 0 of 10 from the field, 0 of 6 from 3, all in 32 minutes. Klay has always been Curry's right-hand man. They're called the Splash Brothers for a reason. If the Warriors want to get under the luxury tax and retain Thompson, he has to agree to a deal way below what he was expecting. But if the Warriors want to keep Thompson, they probably have to stay in the tax a bit longer. Curry's next problem is Draymond Green. Green has become the most expensive headache in the entire league. Since the Warriors won their championship in 2022, Draymond has punched Jordan Poole in practice, stomped on Sabonis' chest, give or take, put Rudy Gobert in a headlock, and hit Jusuf Nurkic in the head.
Oh man.
In 2023, he was second in the league for most technical fouls, and in the past season, he led the league in ejections, was 10th in technical fouls, and 7th in flagrant fouls, and he's also propelled himself to second all-time in ejections in the NBA. And he still has 3 years, over $77 million left on his contract. Curry's next problem is his other teammates. After signing his extension in 2022, Andrew Wiggins is going to be making over $84 million for the next 3 years. This past season, he averaged a career low 13.2 points per game, while also getting benched at one point of the season. Wiggins was an all-star starter 2 years ago. Chris Paul, the Jordan Poole replacement, played just 58 games this season and averaged a career low 9.2 points per game and his second worst assist per game average at 6.8. At age 39, he's owed $30.8 million next season by the Warriors. In hindsight, these are all terrible contracts. There's no way Curry wins another championship with all these guys getting paid a lot of money for their subpar production. The only thing going for Curry and the Warriors is the development of Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Podziemski, and a dash of Trayce Jackson-Davis. That's it. No matter how great these guys are individually, they alone aren't good enough to beat the top teams anymore. It doesn't help either when all three of them are playing in arguably the most competitive Western Conference ever. The past season, there were 10 teams in the West that finished 10 games above 500. That has never happened in the league's history. Western Conference teams also finished the season winning 70 more games than Eastern Conference teams. That's the largest differential since 2015. And if you arrange the standings by just wins and losses, 8 of the 10 teams in the league play in the Western Conference. And these top teams aren't going anywhere either. Anthony Edwards is just 22. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic are both 25. And Nikola Jokic is in his prime right now at the age of 29. Ja Morant and Zion Williamson are returning from injuries, and they both are under 25 years of age. And those are just the players in the Western Conference. For these older guys to win championships during this age of competition means that there is absolutely no room for error, but all three of their franchises have errors at every corner.